Okay, we will call our meeting to order. Welcome, everyone. I will begin with our land acknowledgement. I would like to begin by acknowledging that we are in Mi'kmaq and the district of Sipekne'katik, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. East Hants further acknowledges the 50 African Nova Scotian communities whose 400-year history have contributed to the province's culture, history, and legacies. We are all treaty people. We will now have a moment of silent contemplation. Next, I would be looking for the approval of or amendments to the agenda.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Question's been called. All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary? Motion is carried. I would now be looking for the approval of the minutes of the September 25th, 2024 regular meeting of council, the October 1st, 2024 special meeting of council, the October 8th, 2024 regular meeting of council for policy and in camera.
So moved.
Moved by the Deputy Warden, seconded by Councillor Mitchell. Is there any discussion? Question's been called. All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary? Motion is carried. We will now move into correspondence for information. Councillors, you see the correspondence before you. We've had it for some time. Is there any item under correspondence for information that any councillor wishes to bring forward for discussion? Councillor Mitchell.
Yes, item number 50, the letter to Karen Cooling with the CCRCE. Any reply back from them yet?
Not that I have seen, no.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Councillor Hebb.
Yes, item number 7. Letter of support for Drift Climbers Snowmobile Club requesting the Nova Scotia Off-Highway Vehicle Infrastructure Fund to redirect funds from project 2119-11-13 towards upgrading of the DAR line beginning in Kennycook. I was just wondering, have we sent a letter of support?
That is the letter of
That is the
support.
letter, is it?
If you
Okay.
click on the link, that is the letter.
Okay, thank you.
Any further items under correspondence for information? Seeing none, we'll move to correspondence for decision. First item, we'll start with the request for the municipality of East Hants to help with the second annual community hockey game on November the 16th, 2024. Hants East Rural High is requesting $250 via the event hosting section of the community grant program, as well as the cost of the ice rental. So who's taking this? Alana or Kim or? Okay, Alana? Overview.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Warden. Hants East Rural High high school hockey team is requesting support from the municipality. It indicates they're the $250 via event hosting, which through the community grant program staff can approve. They're also looking for support to cover the cost of an ice rental. They're looking for $625, which is 2.5 hours for the ice rental. This request did come last year as well, and council at that point did choose to support both the community grant as well as the 2-hour ice rental that they had requested. So it's up for council discussion and consideration. And I guess just to clarify, the funds from the event, so admission, donations, et cetera, all of that goes towards the Braden Bannister Memorial Fund. And they support the purchase and implementation of AEDs in all the schools in East Hants.
Thank you. Councillor Garden Cole.
Thank you, Madam Warden. Through you to staff. Just wondering, so last year it was, we did donate the equivalent of 2 hours of ice. Okay. And also, I'm just wondering, do they have, is there any way we can find out how that's going on kind of a separate note, how the AED and all the schools in the municipality, how that is progressing? I'd just be interested in knowing, you know, with all the, you know, we've got schools all over up on the shore and Mount Uniac and, you know, not just in this area. And I'm just wondering how they are doing as a matter of interest with getting, with being on board with that.
Through the warden, so for the first part, we did support last year for $500, or council made the decision to support through the GenGov grant program to support the 2-hour rental. The difference being this year, because municipality is now operating the facility, we would do a journal entry for the cost of that should council wish to support. And certainly through the reporting that we get from the group, we could certainly inquire about AEDs and where they've been placed and the number, et cetera.
Thank you. Not that it is their sole responsibility to provide AEDs in schools, but it is a great task that they've taken on, and it would be nice to know how they're coming along with that and how many of our schools don't have AEDs, I guess is what I'm kind of getting at. But in saying that, I would like to make a motion that, so the 250 is already, they've already qualified for that grant.
Yes.
So I'd like to make a motion that we cover the 2.5 hours ice time required to play this game.
Seconded by Councillor Tingley. On before the motion, Councillor Mitchell.
Thank you, Madam Warden, through you to staff. The 2 hours of icing plus the 250, what other costs are incurred with security and staffing for that evening?
The group has indicated in their community grant application, they have the ice rental, they have referees, timekeepers, program printing. I understand that there's some donations through some of that, so I think last year some of the referees and such donated their time, but like I said, with the community grant application, they list their expenses there, and then the revenues would be all the admission for charity, and they do a 50-50 as well.
So they'll have their own security? Or is it?
Staff would be on site at the Sportsplex, not necessarily security, but we would actually have Sportsplex staff on site, no different than any other evening. If the group chooses to have sort of, I wouldn't say security, but people there to sort of guide individuals in, take admission and things like that, then that would be the responsibility of the group, which many of the groups do.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Rhino.
Thank you, Madam Warden. I'm prepared to support the motion, but just to have it be known that, you know, if any other school in this area wishes to do the same fundraiser with anything, I would suspect that we would support them as well. So this is not just a one-of thing. Whether it be people from Mount Uniac, a school from Mount Uniac, school from Hants North, or school from wherever, if they're having a fundraiser such as similar to this, I would hope that we would give them the same benefit. Thank you.
Any further discussion on the motion?
Question.
The question has been called. We'll go to the vote. And the motion is passed unanimously. The next item, seeking council direction on council's used laptops. CAO?
Thank you, Madam Warden. So councilors, in the past, you have, or prior councils, once your laptops have sort of reached their end of their useful life, except for the last time it was in line with your council term, looking for some direction on what you would like to do with the current laptops you have. They have definitely reached the end of their useful life. They were purchased just before this council, I believe. The residual value per our asset policy, the residual value of those laptops would be about $180 plus HST if you were to purchase them from the municipality. And I'm looking for your direction on whether you want to have the ability to do that or not, or whether you want us to bring them back into our inventory once your council term is over. There are brand-new laptops coming for the new council on the 30th of October. And one of the reasons that gives me a little bit of pause is the new council code of conduct that was developed by the province does state that no member of council shall tender on such items such as the sale of older and extra equipment. So with that, this council hasn't approved that policy yet as a code of conduct, but with that sort of looming in the near future of something that will be in legislation that you have to abide by, I thought it was best that I bring this to council and get your opinion on what to do with your used laptops. Thank you, Madam Warden.
Councillor Tingley.
Question to the CEO through the chair. Are there other situations where council is not permitted to purchase things through the municipality? This seems to be a minor situation, but with this new code of ethics coming, and I suspect that councillors are typically not supposed to deal on anything within the municipality while they're a councillor. Would that be the case?
It's not, through you, Madam Warden, it's not entirely the case, but there are other examples. So for example, councillors and myself were not allowed to bid on, or any staff, are not allowed to bid on properties at tax sale, for example. So generally where the council makes the decision to declare something surplus, like you wouldn't be able to tender on surplus land, for example. You can't make it surplus and then bid on it yourself. Right. So I think that's sort of where this is intended, but it does specifically say like older equipment. So, but again, it's not in policy yet. And these laptops are fairly old laptops. Like they're not useful to many other people other than like for something very minor.
Right. So what second question, what is likely to happen to these laptops if councillors don't buy them?
They would go into surplus and we would have to figure out what to do with them. So we have offered them to nonprofit groups in the past. Typically they're too old to be useful to the nonprofit groups, but we do have surplus laptops that are being used by staff right now that are coming out of, that will be declared surplus as well. So that's, you know, we'll have a lot on our plates.
Okay, that's all the questions I have.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Rhino.
Thank you, Madam Warden. Well, I guess I'm going to question the need for new laptops. You know, what are these new laptops going to give councillors that the old ones done? Is there more protection or what is it? You know, when you use the term useful life, I really hope that you know, 70 is the life expectancy of human beings. I hope we don't hold 70 as a useful life for human beings. You know, we're good after 70 as well. So I just want to know, what are we going to gain by new laptops?
So through you, Madam Warden, over the course of information technology's life, you know, generally it works really well at the start and then it starts to fail. So the replacement of these laptops has been budgeted and is in your cycle for replacement. If we feel that the laptops can do another year or two, that's what we've typically been doing. We've done that with staff laptops and council laptops in the past. Once we start to have failure rates on equipment, it's prudent to replace it. You've got staff time involved, councillor time, nuisance for not being able to read your reports when agendas are posted, all those types of things. So there is value in when our IT staff start to feel that laptops are getting to the end of their useful life and are causing more issues than not. It is time to replace them just for effectiveness and efficiency. So I know there have been problems with many of the laptops around the room. Some just simply refuse to to turn on if they're not plugged in. There's all kinds of technical issues that our staff have dealt with. So these are at the end of their useful life. I guess that's, the decision has been made to replace them. The replacements are here. The question is the only question for you tonight is, do you want to have the opportunity to purchase the laptop that you've been using for the last 4 years or no? Thank you.
I would just add to the CAO's comment, my laptop failed probably a year or so ago. It would no longer take charge and it wouldn't work plugged in. It just simply wouldn't work. So fortunately, there was a surplus laptop here that's gotten me through the last year, but they, as with the electronics, they do fail after some time.
So how many others have failed?
That I cannot answer.
I don't have that information here with me this evening.
Well, I guess, you know, for me, if we could get another year or two out of these, that would be showing us that we're watching the taxpayers' dollars prudently. I know they're budgeted for, but if we can put that off for another 2 years, that would save us money, unless there's a major catastrophe and breakdown.
Well, the decision had been made to replace the laptops under the normal schedule of replacing things. The laptops have been procured through the tender process and are already purchased, I understand. And it is usually,
And this one's failed as well, so it's one of those things. I understand with technology, it can be prudent for some, depending upon how it's used and stored and different things like that, but when things start to fail and you start mixing different systems together, they don't always mesh just as good, especially if you're trying to do things like online collaborations and things like that. So I support this motion.
any further, Councillor Head?
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's always been in the past that councillors had the opportunity to buy the computers when they were no longer needed. Since the code of conduct is not in place yet, I would like to think that we should continue on that until that is passed. Chances are no councillors want to buy them back, and maybe they do want to buy them back, but I think we should have the opportunity of doing that. So I won't be supporting the motion. Thank you.
Any further discussion on the motion? And just for clarity, the motion is to not allow councillors to buy the surplus laptops. Any further discussion?
Question.
Question has been called. And the motion is passed by a vote of 6 to 5. With councillors Hebb, Musa, Mitchell, Garden Cole, and Eisner voting nay. All right, that brings us to the next item for correspondence for decision. A Heritage Incentive Program application from the Chart Society for rebuilding a portion of a chimney on a heritage property has been received. This application requires approval from council to access reserve funds from this program. Who's taking? John will take this one.
Thank you, Madam Warden. Yes, it's actually, I think, a good problem that we have, that council allocates $30,000 a year to the incentive program. We've had enough grants approved so far this year that has been used up completely. However, there is $27,700 in reserves that we use in years when we don't allocate all the grants. So there is money available there that can be pulled in to deal with this application from the Chart Society. They were repairing the chimney on the former St. David's United Church in Maitland, which is now the Arts and Cultural Center there. So we won't be able to award any money to them unless additional reserves are pulled in. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Councillor Rhino.
Thank you, Madam Warden. Well, this is one part of the Heritage Incentive Program that I agree with. It would go into nonprofits. And that's just my bone of contention ever since. I think it should be strictly for nonprofits, but here we go. I move to bring $2,900 in from the Heritage Incentive Program Reserve to fund a grant to Church Society for the rebuilding of a portion of a chimney on the Heritage property.
Moved and seconded. On before the motion, Counselor Garden Cole.
Thank you, Madam Warden. I just want to get clarification. So typically, it's 50% up to a maximum of 5,000? Through to staff.
Through you, Madam Warden, yes, that's correct, up to 5,000. In this case, the work didn't get up to 10,000, so that's why we're only asking to bring 2,900 in instead of 5,000.
Thank you.
Any further discussion on the motion? Question's been called. The motion is passed unanimously. Okay, councilors, we have the next item. We have received an application from United Gulf to make a presentation to council. CAO?
Through you, Madam Warden, we do have an application from United Gulf to make a presentation regarding a buyback process that we're involved with them in. There has been some new information posted confidentially for council under item number 52, and if council wanted to discuss that, we would need to go in camera. Which I would recommend we do.
Move to go into camera.
Moved by the Deputy Warden that we go in camera to discuss a legal issue, seconded by Councillor Tingley. All those in favor? Contrary? Motion is carried. So we will give ask council's permission to slide that in at the end of business for decisions, so I don't have to stay here all evening.
I can articulate it if you want.
Not, So are we good to go? Okay, you're back online. All right, I would report that we met briefly in camera in order to discuss a legal issue. There is one and a request for a presentation to be made to council around an issue. There's one motion coming forward. Deputy Warden Green.
Thank you, Warden. I would move that United Golf be put on the agenda of the next executive to make a presentation.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Question's been called. And the motion is passed unanimously by all those present. I would just report that Councillor Musa and Councillor Perry had to leave due to an urgent personal issue. Okay, next item. Letter from the East Hants Fire Service Association requesting that council establishes a $20,000 annual contribution to the Common Fire Training Facility Reserve to support long-term maintenance improvements to both the Elmsdale and the Knoll facilities. CAO.
Thank you, Madam Warden. The summary on the screen sums up their letter fairly well. There has been money put into a Hants North training facility by council. Elmsdale had constructed their own facility. Both are identical, and they are used by all of the members of the fire service for training interchangeably as a result. So council for 5 years did have a $20,000 allotment going into reserves, and once the fund was at $120,000, I think it was in the end, that stopped going in as part of your annual budget. The chiefs are looking to have that reserve reestablished, and I guess tonight what I would be looking for is just direction on whether you want us to include this in the 2025-2026 draft budget, and then you can make your decision based on that budget at the time. Will or will not have that in it based on your direction from this information for decision. Oops, sorry.
Okay, Deputy Warden Green.
Thank you, Warden. Kim, you took the words right out of my mouth there. I think it's a great thing, but I will move that this be added to the budget deliberations for the upcoming budget, and council of the day can make the decision on it. Both facilities are now practically identical. It'd be nice to keep them that way and keep them up for the training. So,
Moved and seconded. On prior to the motion, Councillor Mitchell.
That's, the motion's added to the budget?
Yes.
I was going to make a motion, I'll let you decide about the annual contribution. Can I do that after the other motion?
So that's what's going to be put into the budget.
Okay.
The annual contribution of $20,000 would be included in the budget, and then under budget deliberations, council would decide whether or not
Okay,
to.
I'm happy with that, thank you.
All right, any further discussion? Question's been called. And the motion is passed unanimously. Councilors, before we leave correspondence for decision, there is an item that needs a little finessing, I guess, from council, for lack of a better word, that I was going to raise under business from councilors. I did see that Gore Fire was here. I didn't realize they were going to be here. At the meeting where we approved the funding for Gore Fire, we did so contingent upon them coming up with a feasible financial plan. We did not clarify whether they had to present their feasible financial plan to council, or whether or not the Director of Finance, if he was satisfied that it was a feasible plan, that was acceptable. It was my thought that if they had a plan that was acceptable to the Director of Finance, we would proceed. They have, I believe, come up with a feasible financial plan, which, Wade, I'll ask you, I think you feel is a feasible plan?
I went through the matter with the department, and they have presented what I consider to be a very feasible plan. They are still in negotiation and finalization phases with the bank as to the exact dollar amount that they will be borrowing and the interest rate, but as far as I'm concerned, they have a very feasible plan that will work, and I see no problems with it.
So I guess we would be looking for a motion to accept the plan based on the director's recommendation. Deputy Warden. Whoops, sorry, I've got to turn the mic off.
Thank you, Warden. I would move that the financial plan presented by Gore Fire Department to the Director of Finance be accepted as the, what's the word I'm looking for?
Feasible plan
As a feasible
required.
plan required for the release of the funding that the municipality has offered.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? Question's been called. And the motion is passed unanimously. Thank you for your indulgence, council. I believe Gore has probably already left, but anyway, that could perhaps be conveyed to them by staff, as I don't know what time it will be when I get home. Okay, moving along, that concluded correspondence for decision. We now have the presentation of a Nova Scotia Federation of Municipality Long Service Awards. We do not have a script. Okay.
Up to you.
It's all on me, I guess. So I do have some long service awards that have been awarded by NSFM. These are awarded in 5-year increments to eligible counselors. So at this time, I am happy to present a certificate of recognition to Councillor Eldon Hebb in recognition of 15 years of dedicated service. If we stand here, the camera will see us. Is that correct?
Here, I'll take it. Can you turn this on? I'll get them.
Is anyone seeing you too? Okay.
Are great.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Next, I would be offering the certificate of recognition to Councillor Norval Mitchell in recognition of 10 years of dedicated service. Congratulations. And last but not least, I have a presentation for Deputy Warden Wayne Green in recognition of 15 years of dedicated service.
Brother and sister.
We'll Photoshop Robert.
Yes.
Congratulations. A bit of a position, whereas if I went down on the floor where it would be easier for us to see, then anyone watching online would not be able to see. So anyway, moving along, we'll go into our committee reports, and we will start with the East Hants Source Water Protection Committee report. Councillor Garden Cole.
The committee held its regular meeting on October 9, 2024, electronically via Zoom. The following items were discussed and one recommendation is coming forward. Wetland Vulnerability Study. Braden Thomas, Sarah Scarlett, Strum Consulting presented on Wetland Vulnerability Study via PowerPoint presentation. The presentation was regarding a GIS modeling program on wetlands that was able to accurately find and determine the boundaries and levels of environmental stresses for wetlands. Introduction to Aquatic Invasive Species. Sarah Kingsbury, DFO, Introduction to Aquatic Invasive Species via PowerPoint presentation. The presentation was regarding how aquatic invasive species are introduced into Nova Scotia and the impacts that they have had on local habitats. The presentation also included a discussion on preventive measures. The East Hants Source Water Protection Committee recommends to Council that Council send a letter for consideration to the province requesting the installation of a permanent boat washdown area for the Shubenacadie Grand Lake Boat Launch at Oakfield Park, and that enforcement be provided at peak seasons such as the fishing derby season. As chair of the committee, I so move.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Question.
Question's been called. And the motion is
Yeah.
passed unanimously.
Red Swamp Crawfish. Madison Bond, St. Mary's University, Red Swamp Crawfish via PowerPoint presentation. Presented on how red swamp crawfish have been found in 3 Mile Lake, their effects on the local wildlife, and how they could pose a threat to the Grand Lake watershed. Mr. Jesse Halsman suggested that East Hants will be reaching out to the WJCC summer camps and the Nova Scotia Invasive Species Council and the Department of Fisheries and Oceans to set up an educational session on the invasive crayfish, which is at risk of spreading throughout the Grand Lake watershed, which could negatively impact local food webs as well as recreational activities. We will also be looking into adding more information to social media regarding invasive species, such as who residents can contact when they find something and methods of preventing the introduction of new aquatic invasive species. Environmental Spring, New Well in Shubenacadie, and 2023 Hydrological Study. Mr. Chad Greenham provided an update that the environmental spring was still in operation and that a new production well had been drilled in Shubenacadie to replace the well that had collapsed earlier this year. The new well is expected to become operational within a couple of months. Mr. Chad Greenham had provided an update on the 2023 hydrological study on the impact of the engineering spring on the Shubenacadie River water levels that had been postponed in 2023, has been recently completed, and the report will be provided by the end of this fiscal year. Resident concerns on Little Grand Lake. A resident off Little Grand Lake had voiced concerns about the impact of recreational activities on the water quality, and samples were taken in August from Little Grand Lake found that the water quality was very comparable to the samples that were taken in the source water protection sampling locations on Grand Lake, which were very similar to previous years. As chair of the committee, I move the adoption of this report.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? Question's been called. All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary, motion is carried. Next, we have the Corporate and Residential Services Committee report. Councillor Perry had to leave, so we will turn it over. I believe, Councillor Tingley, you're the vice chair of that committee. Is that correct?
Yep. The committee held its regular meeting on October 8th, 2024 in council chambers. The following motion is coming forward as a result of those meetings. Fire Advisory Committee terms of reference. Staff presented a report with recommendations to update the Fire Advisory Committee terms of reference. The updates were primarily housekeeping in nature, clarifying the role of the nominating committee, length of terms, and dates when the terms end. The Corporate and Residential Services Committee recommends to Council that Council approve the updated Fire Advisory Committee terms of reference attached to the October 8th, 2024 Executive Committee agenda. As chair of the committee, I so move.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Question.
Question has been called. The motion is passed unanimously.
As chair of the committee, I move the adoption of this report.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary, motion is carried. Next, we'll go to the Planning Advisory Committee report. Over to you, Counselor Mitchell.
Thank you, Madam Warden. The committee held its regular meeting on October 8, 2024 in council chambers. The following motions are coming forward as a result of that meeting. PLN 008, Gruhar Wallet Singh Development Agreement Application. An application was received requesting approval of an auto dealer and vehicle repair and maintenance facility behind Withrose Farm Market on Highway 214 in Belknap. The Planning Advisory Committee recommends to council that council give initial consideration to enter into a development agreement for an automobile dealer and auto vehicle repair and maintenance use located on property identified as PID 454-31129, Highway 214, Belknap, to enable a public hearing and authorize staff to schedule a public hearing. As chair of the committee, I so move.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? Question's been called. And the motion is passed unanimously.
PLN 24-009 Tops Academy Development Agreement Amendment Application. An application was received from Tots Academy Child Care Society to amend the existing development agreement to increase the number of parking stalls to accommodate additional staff to support an increase in child and daycare spots. The Planning Advisory Committee recommends to council that council approve the application by Tots Academy Child Care Society for an unsubstantial amendment to its existing development agreement to allow for an increase in the number of parking stalls. As chair of the committee, I so move.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? Question's been called. The motion is passed unanimously.
Tel Aviv MPS and LUB mapping amendments. An application was received to redesignate and rezone property and lands to enable the construction of 2 multi-unit residential buildings. The Planning Advisory Committee recommends that council authorize staff to schedule a public information meeting to consider a proposal to change the designation and zone of PID 450-89356, PID 450-89349, and a portion of PID 450-89455 from established residential designation, neighborhood designation, ER, to medium-density residential neighborhood, MR, designation, and rezone for 2 dwelling unit residential, R2, to multi-unit residential, R3. As chair of the committee, I so move.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? The question has been called. The motion is passed by a vote of 8-1, with Councillor Rhino voting nay.
Municipal Housing Strategy, Housing Working Group Extension. The committee considered a request to extend the term of the Housing Working Group into the new year to enable completion of the Municipal Housing Strategy. The Planning Advisory Committee recommends to council that council approve the extension of the term for the Housing Working Group to enable the completion of the work plan for the housing strategy. As chair of the committee, I so move.
Seconded by Councillor Tingley. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Question.
Question has been called. Motion is passed unanimously.
Motion C24-89 and C24-161, lot grading and drainage unserviced areas. The Planning Advisory Committee recommends to council that council complete some research for a report outlining what it would look like to empower the development officer or officers to have autonomy and leeway to determine when a lot grading certificate is required in serviced and unserviced areas. As chair of the committee, I so move.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? Question's been called. Motion is passed unanimously.
As chair of the committee, I move the adoption of this report.
Seconded.
Seconded by Counselor Hebb. All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary, motion is carried. Next, we'll go to the Infrastructure and Operations Committee report. Counselor Garden Cole.
Thank you, Madam Warden. The committee held its regular meeting on October 8, 2024 in council chambers. The following motions are coming forward as a result of the meeting. First item, Servicing Capacity Study Overview. The Infrastructure and Operations Committee further discussed the servicing capacity staff recommendations post-review, report dated September 2024. The Infrastructure and Operations Committee recommends to Council that Council receive the report, which is to be posted for the public, and to add projects identified as needed within the next 5 years to the next capital budget review for consideration. As Chair of the Committee, I so move.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Question.
Question has been called. The motion is passed unanimously.
Second item, cross-connection control retrofit. Staff presented a report with options for expanding the cross-connection control program to include premises built before June 1st, 2016, industrial, commercial, and institutional buildings, and apartment buildings with more than 4 units. Staff identified 244 such premises. The Infrastructure and Operations Committee recommends to Council that Council directs staff to expand the cross-connection control program by including a retrofit program to launch April 1st, 2025, that offers a retrofit rebate of $400 per the combination of one device and one initial device test, and with the overall budget being submitted for the 2025-26 water utility budget review. As Chair of the Committee, I so move.
Seconded by Counselor Mitchell. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Question.
Question has been called.
Third item. Oh,
Motion is passed unanimously. Carry on, Counselor.
thank you. Shubenacadie Village Core Parking. Staff provided a possible concept layout and statement of probable costs for development of a parking area in Shubenacadie. The Infrastructure and Operations Committee recommends to Council that Council approve the proposed site concept plan and direct staff to engage the services of a professional engineer to design the Shubenacadie Village Core Parking, and direct staff to add the cost of construction of the parking area to the 2025-26 draft budget. As Chair of the Committee, I so move.
Seconded.
Seconded by the Deputy Warden. Is there any discussion on the motion? Counselor McPhee.
Thank you, Warden. Yes, since we met last Tuesday, I had a discussion with the president of the Shubenacadie Legion, and they were unable to provide a letter for tonight's meeting, but their ask is that we consider relocating the cenotaph from its present site out to the Legion, and also move the Vimy oak, which is planted there, which is just a small tree right now. So before we send this out for design, I would say we need to take this into consideration, possibly change the design concept that we were using.
So I believe that we can pass this motion with perhaps an amendment. I would be guided, CEO, if we pass this, we're going to still engage the services of a professional engineer pending a decision around the Legion request to move those items.
Yes.
Would that work? Or should we table this motion?
Okay.
So I would be looking for someone to move to table this motion until we have the other information.
I'll move to table the motion.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Motion to table is not debatable, so we'll go to the vote. Motion is passed unanimously. Back to you, Councillor Garden Cole.
Thank you, Madam Warden. excavation services contract. Following an in-camera discussion, the Infrastructure and Operations Committee made the following recommendation. The Infrastructure and Operations Committee recommends to Council that given that there was no objection to the Advanced Contract Award Notice, ACAN, for excavation services posted to the Nova Scotia Tendering website on August 2nd, 2024, be it moved that Council give the Chief Administrative Officer the authority to approve negotiated contracts for Benry Contracting to be the primary service provider and Basin Contracting to be the secondary service provider for the excavation services contract with services effective as of October 2024. As Chair of the Committee, I so move.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion on the motion?
Question?
No. CAO.
Oh, no, sorry, mine's for,
Okay. All those in favor? I'll go to the vote. Sorry. Thrown off here. And the motion is passed unanimously.
As Chair,
Before we leave operations, the CAO has a question around some clarification I think she needs. CAO?
Thank you, Madam Warden. So we've tabled this motion for the Village Court parking. The request from the Legion, staff did have a chance to meet yesterday and review what that would mean for the project. We think it's a viable move forward and would like to come back with, like to move on the request prior to council getting a letter a month from now, making that decision, and just so we can get things in place for budget time. So if it's council's wish, we will move on that request to start costing out what it would cost to move the cenotaph and enlarge the parking, because it will be a better product long-term for Shubenacadie if you can expand that paved parking area without having to worry about the Legion there, or the cenotaph, sorry. So I don't know, probably just a motion to bring back information on moving the cenotaph and expanding that parking, and then we can start that work ASAP. Thank you.
Councillor McPhee.
Thank you, Warden. I'd like to make that motion to start the,
Authorize staff to move forward with costing.
yes, costing the,
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Question's been called. Motion is passed unanimously. Back to you, Councillor Garden-Cole.
thank you. As Chair of the Committee, I move the adoption of this report.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary, motion is carried. Moving on, we'll go to the Parks, Recreation, and Culture Committee report. Councillor Rhino.
Thank you, Madam Warden. Committee held its regular meeting on October the 8th, 2024 in council chambers. The following motions are coming forward as a result of that meeting. 2025 Volunteer Award, location and date. Staff presented a report recommending that the 2025 East Hants Volunteer Awards and Volunteer Firefighter Long Service Awards ceremony be held on Friday, May the 2nd, 2025 at the Nolan District Volunteer Fire Department. So from that, the Parks and Recreation and Culture Committee recommends to Council that Council approve to host the East Hants Volunteer Awards and Firefighter Long Service Awards ceremony on May the 2nd, 2025 at the Nolan and District Volunteer Fire Departments. Chair of the committee, I do so move.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Question's been called. And the motion is passed unanimously.
District recreation funds and beautification grant allocation. Following the election, there will be the same number of districts, but the boundaries will change. Council approval is needed to distribute the remaining DRF and beautification funds from the old districts to the new districts based on the difference in residential assessment amounts. So from that, the Parks and Recreation and Culture Committee recommends that Council approve the balance of October 30th, 2024 in the District Recreation Fund and Beautification Fund reserves for each existing district, and it be allocated to the new district structure on the basis of residential assessment. As Chair of the committee, I do so move.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Question?
Question's been called. The motion is passed unanimously.
Council previously expressed an interest in recognizing Olympic medalist Wyatt Sanford by presenting a key to the municipality, and staff provided options for consideration. So from that, the Parks and Recreation and Culture Committee recommends to council that council approve that Wyatt Sanford of Kennecott be awarded a key to the municipality in recognition of his accomplishment as a bronze medalist in boxing at the 2024 Paris Olympics at a time and place to be announced, and that up to $750 from the General Government Cost Center be approved to cover the cost. As chair of the committee, I do so move.
Seconded.
Seconded by the Deputy Warden. Is there any discussion on the motion? Question's been called. Motion is passed unanimously.
And continuing on from that, the Parks and Recreation and Culture Committee recommend that council direct staff create a permanent casting or design for the key to the municipality to be funded or approved at the CAO's discretion. As chair of the committee, I do so move.
Seconded by Councillor Mitchell. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Question?
Question's been called. Motion is passed unanimously.
Sportsplex update fall 2024. On May the 15th, 2024, the municipality assumed daily operations of the East End Sportsplex, and staff presented an update on the work that has been completed at the facility since transitioning operations and capital repairs and potential future projects. From that, the Parks and Recreation and Culture Committee recommends to council that council keep 2024-2025 Sportsplex rates in place for the remainder of the current fiscal year, and to direct staff to conduct a review on rental fees for indoor turf and arena rentals to recommend rates as part of the 2025-2026 budget discussion. As chair of the committee, I do so move.
Seconded.
Seconded by the Deputy Warden. Is there any discussion on the motion? Question has been called. The motion is passed unanimously.
East Hants Curling Association General Government Grant. The following an in-camera discussion is a result of a request from the East Hants Curling Association. The following recommendations were made. The Parks and Recreation and Culture Committee recommends to council that council approve a general government grant to the East Hants Curling Association up to $3,000 for programming for the 2024-2025 season. As chair of the committee, I do so move.
Seconded by Councillor Mitchell. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Question?
Question's been called. Motion is passed unanimously.
That brings me to the end of my report. As chair of the committee, I move the adoption of this report.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary? Motion is carried. That brings us to the time for the warden's report, so I would turn the chair over to the deputy warden.
Go ahead, Warden.
Thank you. So it seems like it's not been that long since we met before, so anyway, I will do a quick run through here. Since our last council meeting, I did attend the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation in Shubenacadie. It was, as always, a very, I don't know what the word I want is, solemn is not quite it, but it was very touching and a very moving affair, and something that I certainly enjoyed attending, and I would recommend anyone who's able to attend those ceremonies to do so. Then I attended the Hants North Legion in Knoll on Saturday, October the 5th, for the unveiling of the Harvey Brothers Memorial. For anyone who's not aware, in World War II, there were 8 brothers from the same family who served in the Second World War. That is the most of any family, not only in Canada, not only in North America, but in the entire British Commonwealth as well. And so this family has finally been recognized with a monument, and very, very much deserved. A family that I knew 4 of the 8 brothers. 2 did not come home. And it was moving, and I think a very well-deserved recognition. And that, other than the regular holidays, kind of took up the things I attended pretty well. But I'd like to take a moment, as this is the last council meeting of this council, barring any terrible emergency between now and the 30th, which we certainly all hope would not take place. So I'd just like to take a brief moment to reflect back on the last 4 years. They have certainly flown by. When this council was sworn in, we were still in COVID, wearing masks and with plastic shields guarding our desks and taking all the precautions that were needed at the time. I'd like to thank this council for allowing me the honor and the privilege and the opportunity to serve as your warden for the last 4 years. I have truly appreciated the opportunity and the trust that you placed in me in electing me to fill this position, and I have done so to the very best of my ability, and I just wish to thank you again. I'd also like to thank this council and every member of this council for your service for the past 4 years. We couldn't get the work done that needs to be done without the work of each and every one of you. And sometimes we butt heads a little bit. We don't always agree unanimously on everything. But I can honestly say that I believe every member of this council votes with their heart and votes for what they truly believe is the best way forward for the folks who have elected them to serve in this position. And I would like to thank this council for all your hard work and dedication, and for doing so in a respectful and kind manner as we work together for the good of the municipality. So it's been a whirl of 4 years. It's hard to believe it's been 4 years already. To those of you who are acclaimed and coming back, you'll continue to carry the torch. To Councillor or Deputy Warden Green, who is retiring from public life, thank him for his service and wish him well in his future endeavors. To the new councillor from the Lance area who is coming in by acclamation, I'm sure that he will be made welcome and get up to speed very quickly. To the 4 of us who are facing challenges in this election, that's democracy. That's democracy at work. We have no way of knowing at this time if all of us, any of us, or none of us will be here again. But I can say that for myself personally, and I believe for the rest of you, we can all take pride in having served our communities and done so out of a desire to give back and to help the communities that we represent. I wish you all the best as you move forward, and I wish all candidates all the best as we move forward. And after Saturday night, we will have a new council-elect, although this council will continue to be in office until the 30th. But that was all. I just really wanted to give you all my heart-filled thanks for all your work this past year, and thank you for the opportunity to serve as your warden, the first woman to have held the position ever. And it brings me a great deal of pride that you had the confidence in me to extend me that opportunity. So thank you very much. That's it.
Thank you, Wardens. Anybody have any questions for the Warden? Seeing none, I'll turn the chair back to you, Warden.
Thank you. So we'll start with business from councilors. We'll start with Councillor Tingley.
Through the chair, since it's been such a short time since we gave the last report, I don't have much to report, but I'd like to thank Councillor Deputy Green for his service. I really appreciate how he pulls the trigger and makes decisions quickly. And I would like to thank Warden Rolston. She's been an excellent leader and a warden, And it's pretty nice that you were the first female warden in the municipality. And who knows, maybe you'll be back next term. We'll see. That's about all I've got to say.
Thank you, Counselor. Deputy Warden Green.
Thank you, Warden. From business, I did attend the Harvey Memorial Service. Very nice service, beautiful job over there they've done. If any of you get a chance to stop in and look with the poles, the banners, the monuments, it's well done. This will be my final night here at the mic, barring any tragedy, which we hope doesn't happen. When I look back on 16 years, they've gone very fast. I look over, I see two of the people that I come in with still here. And when we first come on council, there were 9 of us. 9 green councillors to come on here, didn't have a clue what we were doing. And but look at us now. But I'd like to commend all the council of this year, well done. Like the warden has said, we don't always get along, but at the end of the day, when we walk out of here, it's left here in the chambers. Which, you do not see that in many other political arenas. And I'd like to thank the staff for all the work they've done. They've always been available at any phone call to give me the information. This staff and the staff of the past 16 years. And I have learned one thing that was very true that the CAO at the time, Ian Glasgow, told me. That the speed of municipal politics moves like a glacier, very slow. And it does, but at the end of the day, the decisions we make are the best decisions we feel we can make, that we feel are right. Nothing has gone into hastily here. The reports come back. They're all well-written reports with all the information we need. And I said, I'm looking very forward to not coming here on Wednesday nights anymore. And I wish all the ones that are running the best of luck, and all the candidates that are running the best of luck. And I gather you're the new councillor for Lance? Good luck. Yeah, no, you will do fine. And those are my comments, and thank you for a wonderful 16 years, everybody that's been here with me.
Counselor McPhee.
Thank you, Warden. Yes, one event that I attended, of course, was the Truth and Reconciliation Day in Orange Shirt Day. It was great to see so many counselors, the CAO and her daughter there. Encourage anybody to come to it. I think it's a big part of Truth and Reconciliation. And as the Warden expressed, it's sort of a solemn ceremony, but yet it's a celebratory ceremony at the same time. So to understand that, you need to go to it next year, I guess. And also the teachings afterwards, if you have time, stay for them. Very informative. Roger Lewis again. And it's a great event. And as everybody else has said, this is hopefully the last meeting for this council. I will be back for the next council. And I came in partway through, and I'd just like to say it's been great serving with everybody so far and getting used to it. So everybody made me feel welcome, and the staff have been great. So looking forward to the next 4 years. Thank you.
Counselor Hebb.
Thank you, Madam Warden. Just a couple of things I would like to bring up, and kudos go out to our solid waste team once again. The municipality came in as runner-up for the Solid Waste Association of North America Annual Safety Awards. And I think that's quite an achievement for being Canada. I think they do an excellent job, and this certainly shows that they have. So, and the next thing is this, same as my previous counselors over here. Wayne and I started 16 years ago, and like I said, we were greenhorns, and it was a learning curve for us all, and it was made it great for me was the staff we have all those 16 years. Without you fellows, it would have been pretty rough, but it was great to have somebody we could fall back on, and not only that, we had a great bunch of counselors all these years. to work together and we accomplished a lot too. And it's been a truly pleasure for me. I hope I can come back, but we never know. But if I don't, it's been a pleasure for the CAO and your team and all the other counselors. Thank you.
Counselor Eisner.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Warden. Yes, I too also went to Truth and Reconciliation, Shubenacadie. Yes, it was superly moving. More than I realized, because I used to go by there when I was a kid to my uncle's farm, and I never realized that was going on, whatnot. It was very moving. Met some co-workers from CCOA there. They were working also at that place. I'm now on the campaign trail like Eldon is. It's different to go into it. It's funny that we don't get to go out and talk to the public, but now we're forced to go out there to talk, as you might want to call it, but it's very informative in how you're meeting all these people from Ontario, from the states, which can't vote. It's interesting how they look at East Hants living here. They like it. It's one of their better places they lived. I feel you're going to see a lot more people coming this way. Even from Asia, talking to those people, they barely can speak English here, but they're up another street and just they like it here. They want to be in part of Canada. It's kind of neat that. I don't know. We'll see what happens on this campaign trail again, but the best part is about going out to meet the people, because we didn't have to do that at the beginning. We didn't understand it, but it's almost worth to go out every second year to go do the whole thing, just as informative, because you get a lot of information. Anyways, thank you very much.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Mitchell.
Thank you, Madam Warden. I attended the Truth and Reconciliation on the 30th and went back for Treaty Day on the 1st, but there wasn't much going on in the morning, so I toured 3 or 4 of the buildings that they were building and had some talks with some residents. I took the time to visit the RCMP place in Spaganagity and picked up some information on human trafficking that she was willing to share. On October the 5th, the Elmsdale Fire and Emergency Service held an open house. There was a tour of the facilities, tours of the trucks. We had an ambulance in the bay. We passed out handouts, and we finished it with a barbecue of hot dogs and hamburgers. I'm asking staff for the procedure for the new library highway sign that's deteriorating out front, so I don't know what the procedure is, but I'll ask staff to enlighten me. It's a highway road sign that says Elmsdale Library. Half it's gone, so if you could look at it, I'd appreciate it. And in closing, I'd like to wish a fellow councillor, Wayne Green, we've met before council through the fire service, and I wish him well going forward. And to the councillors that are campaigning, I wish you well and enjoyment as much as you can. I'd like to thank staff for another 4 years of answering questions and serving the public in East Hants, especially District 2. We don't always agree, and I don't always maybe to make the right decision of who to get to, but I do my best, and I try to answer all the questions that the public has and share the information that staff has. I am supporters of staff and the CAO and council, and decisions we make here are decisions that we live by. So I wish everybody well going forward, and thanks for putting up with me on those Wednesday nights when I have things I want to share. That's all, Madam Warden.
Thank you. Counselor Garden Cole?
Thank you, Madam Warden. Just a few things from District 1 in Enfield. I too attended the Truth and Reconciliation celebration events, and it is very moving and it's a very profound experience. Everybody should attend. As well, I had numerous meetings this month with the SWEPS meeting, CCOA board meeting, and they are not quite on schedule with the new build, but not too far off, and it's a very exciting time. Municipal Housing Working Group as well. I would just like to say, as this is Councillor Green's last council meeting, I'd like to thank him for the years of service for his district and for the municipality as well. Longtime councillors such as Councillor Green and others on this council are a source of inspiration and guidance to myself and I'm sure other councillors who have come on board more recently, and it's invaluable. I'd like to thank this current council as well. It's been a pleasure working with you for the past 4 years. Big thank you to CAO Ramsey and to the staff for working so hard for us so that we can better serve our residents. I know we ask a lot. I know I ask a lot. I'm not sure about the rest of you, but it really helps me to serve the residents of East Hants, and I really appreciate it. And I'm looking forward to the next 4 years. Best of luck to everyone who's in the upcoming election. And that's it from me. Thank you.
Thank you. And Counselor Rhino?
Thank you, Madam Warden. Through you to Jesse, could I ask where the radar devices are for the Maitland area? I've had questions about them in the Knoll area as well. Are they on the docket for this fall, or what can you tell me?
Sorry, Jesse.
I'll get him there, Warden.
Just yell it.
Go ahead, Jesse.
True. Through you, Madam Warden. So we're currently in the process of working through site validation on a few of the devices to be installed. We submitted 13 locations for consideration to the province most recently. 12 came back as warranting the signs, 5 of which the province is comfortable going ahead with that, and they're seeking us to just validate the final location. That process is underway. I don't have an exact timeline, but it's in there are 5 that are in motion and actively being worked on to get that final validation with the province to go up, one of which is in Maitland. And what is holding up some of the validation is the province wants to do of the 7 that are approved but not going forward right away, is the province wants an extra year to do some signage changes. They've found through our request that a lot of the signs aren't meeting regulations. The speed drops by 30 kilometers an hour instead of 20 at a time, and it needs to step down to enable the population in a more controlled slowdown. They want to do that first and then relook at those locations. But as I said, 5 are active, and I don't have an exact time, but we are approved at 5 locations, one of which is Maitland. So we did get approval on that, and that's recent.
Well, that helped me, but it didn't help me. I am so frustrated with this process. It's taking too long. I'm wondering if we should maybe be trying to get our MLA to speed something more up, because this has been this has been really frustrating. People's been asking for them over the course of the campaign. Speed was a number one item in all over the new district. And, you know, we keep telling them, well, it's on the books, it's coming. Like, I just can't express my frustration in this. And I just, really, I can't tell them any more than what I've told them before from your response tonight. Correct? So is there any chance to get them in before winter, or will they be put off till spring? Could you give me a ballpark on that?
Through Madam Warden, right now we're at the mercy of the final decisions on validation. We're not holding up that piece. The province is looking to do some calibrations. They want to make sure that our stuff's meets their requirements. It will. But if it was up to us and we had the green light, they'd already be up.
Would it then be, in your opinion, then that a letter to the MLA asking that this be expedited for the purposes of safety, would it be, in your opinion, a good thing to do?
Through Madam Warren, I think it would be an excellent thing to do, to say where there has already been agreement on 5 locations, seeking your support in endorsing those go in. I don't think that would hurt. I also don't think it would necessarily change provincial staff's process, unfortunately. I think.
Well, I guess that, you know, we held off on writing the MLA. Now this has been lengthened out again, so I will move on we write our MLA, John McDonald, on the 5 that have been somewhat approved, to expedite the process to get this installed as quickly as possible, and I allow staff to wordsmith that the way they need to.
It's moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Question.
Question's been called. The motion is passed unanimously.
Is there any way we could get that out fairly quickly, or is that going to be a lengthy process? You know, I don't mean that disrespectful, but I mean, could we get that out ASAP?
Through Madam Warren, it'll be out next week.
Okay, thank you. All right. October the 5th, I also attended the Harvey Brothers Memorial. It was long overdue. It's a beautiful, as Deputy Warden Green said, the whole thing is just well done. And I would like to commend the Legion, the Hants North Legion, for taking on this project and carrying it through. It was very well done. Last Saturday, I presented an 80th birthday certificate on behalf of the municipality to Mr. Bob Ewing of Maitland. It was a great afternoon. He was very happy with the presentation. To Deputy Warden Green, I'd like to thank you for your years of service for this municipality. I know you served your area well, and I don't know if it's retirement, but all the best to you. To the rest of council, the ones that who are acclaimed, lucky you. To the ones that are running in the election, I know personally this has been a very long election. I can't get to every door because it is so geographically big, this new district. And hopefully the new council will take a look at that somehow in some form to see if we can change that, whether that be now or in 8 years' time at the review, because it is hard to get all over it at this time. So everyone else, I'd like to thank staff for all their hard work. And we don't always agree, as has been said here before, but we do have respect for one another. And I really appreciate it. right now, I guess that's everything. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Just before we move along, I did neglect one item that I would like to take the opportunity to raise, if the Deputy Warden would take the chair.
Yeah, go ahead, Warden.
I have had a call recently, and I have already spoken with Staff Sergeant Balmaceda of the RCMP about it, but I just want to take a moment to raise it here too, about a concern that's been raised on the 354 McCarty Road near the elementary school. And there seemed to be a lot of truck traffic there, particularly dump trucks. And many of these trucks do not appear to be following the speed limit in the school zone. There are very narrow shoulders along there in many places. There's not a safe drop-off zone for students there. People are trying to park on the side of the road. Recently, we had a dump truck go through there, stop at the intersection, head out the Beaverbank part of the 354, and I don't know what happened, but it didn't get very far before it was on its side in the ditch. So the resident who called me lives very close to a school, but cannot allow her children to walk to school because she feels it's a safety issue. And so she wondered, and which got me to wondering, we do have some portable speed signs, I believe, that we've employed in the last, and I guess in the past, my ask would be if the area near the elementary school in Rawdon on the 354 McCarty Road could be considered for placement of one of these signs that would tell the vehicles how fast they're going. And perhaps going forward at some point in time, that area might be considered for a permanent sign if it was possible, but for the time being, even to have it put on in the queue for one of these portable signs, with the hopes that as drivers see how fast they're driving, and all drivers through there, not just truck drivers, that perhaps they will realize, this is a school zone and we need to slow down. So I would make that a motion.
Moved by the Warden. Do we have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Garden Cole. Councillor Rhino, you were on before the motion.
Thank you. I'll support the motion. Are those speed radar signs, are they moved around the area very much or only by request? What I'm thinking is, and hearing the warden's motion, I'm wondering if we could deploy them through the school zones throughout the municipality on somewhat of a regular basis just to help out. Is that a possibility?
Go ahead, Jesse.
Through you, Madam Warden, there are two portable signs. They do get moved around based on input received from the public. And then they're prioritized based on, some judgment of what's the hot topic or the risk or what's being reported. They typically don't go up and down quickly. They're usually up for a 4-week period. And there's a strategy around that on data collection, on trying to change behaviors and collect data and then share such data with the RCMP so then they can leverage anything identified for future patrols, potentially. So floating them around, the best time of the year to do that is usually in the springtime, to be honest. That said, is they're always being looked at and deployed based on the list. They don't always get up into a particular location at a specific time. It's just when we can get to it. There's currently an inquiry into Poplar Drive, so staff are looking at that. And it does take more time to get a setup on a provincial road because it requires additional approvals from the province versus a residential road on a municipal road, which is much easier. Staff just do it. That's it. If it's on a municipal residential road, it's a just do it. If it's on a provincial road, it takes some more time and some more requirements and work to get up and going. So a lot of our school zones are in provincial road right-of-ways, so it's a little more cumbersome to be able to do that across the municipality.
Well, perhaps this, if I may, perhaps this would be on a 4-week basis, be a good project for staff to look at and deploy them throughout the municipality and schools. I mean, you've got September, October, November, December. I mean, traffic usually some slow down in the winter, some don't, but then deploy them, and at least we would give the province, okay, a plan of what we wanted to do with these signs. It was just a suggestion. I don't know what the rest of them think, but I would think if we made a schedule up and put them in the different schools, at least that would give the province an idea of when and where, and have the prior approval before we set them out. Just my thoughts.
Counselor? Okay, seeing no one else, we're looking for the question on the motion. Question's been called, we'll go to the vote. The motion is passed unanimously. I'll turn the chair back to you, Warden.
Thank you. Well, counselors, that does bring us to the end of our agenda, except for setting the date and time of the inaugural meeting of council. Oh, Councilor Rhino, I'm sorry.
I forgot, I did want to mention, I want to keep, and everyone keep Councillor Musa in our thoughts and our prayers when he's dealing with this situation. Thank you.
And before we wrap up, it's not a council business or anything, but we have a bit of an update, and after we adjourn, if councilors would stay back for a minute or two, we could share that update, so. All right, so I'd be looking to set the date and time of the inaugural meeting of council for the oath of office and the swearing-in ceremony on October the 30th, 2024. Moved by the Deputy Warden, seconded by Councillor Hebb. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary, motion is carried. I would now be looking for a motion of adjournment.
So moved.
Moved by Deputy Warden, seconded by Councillor Hebb. Councillor Mitchell.
The photo for the new councils at 6 that day? Thank you.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary, motion is carried. We are adjourned. We'll give staff time to shut down the live stream.